So hey guys, today we're going to be talking about the Master Duel modes or things you can do in Master Duel. What can we actually do with Master Duel? Well, let's start. So we have events. So at the moment, Duelist Cup, this is basically not that much different from ranked duels. Literally, I guess the only difference is when I do a duel in Duelist Cup, I can't check my opponent's deck build like this. That might as well be the only difference at the moment. So yeah, not much else to say. I mean, they recently changed it a little bit. So like before, if you did a ranked duel or whatever, you hate the meta, you could well, you would think, oh, maybe I can escape from the meta or whatever if I go to event duel or whatever the festival is, and then you boot up extra zero, and it's like, oh, I'm just playing against Flu again, and also their full power, but they limited some other niche strategies for whatever reason. But for laundries is okay. Max power for laundries in both ranked and then in the festival. Miserable. So basically, you just are thinking of like, well, so we're going back a little bit earlier, right? So we have ranked mode, or basically in this case it could be like Flandries duel, and then duel against Flandries, except now you're under some sort of restriction, but the Flandries players aren't under any restriction. So this is like uh regular Flandries duel, and then this is like masochistic Flandries duel. Great. And then if we go to team battle, we don't even need to talk about this mode, do we? Like, really, team battle. This is the most fake mode that there's ever been. Okay, so not even worth talking about. Casual. Well, for casual, this mode is just really lame, not particularly useful. So in casual, you can just matchmake against anything, and there's no like repercussion, no like reason to stay or play out any game. So if your opponent is playing the game, you can just decide, no, I'll scoop. Like your opponent could normal summon, I don't know, what's like a kind of moderate card. Let's say we have what's his face, Psy Reflector, like genuinely normal summon Psy Reflector, and then attempt Psy Reflector effect, I guess. Like, sure, maybe they normal summon up Assault Beast Pass, you can just scoop, you know, no reason to play it out. But if they start comboing, you have no reason to say, no reason to see what they end on, what they do here, just you can surrender. At this point, like, genuinely, what's the point of playing casual when you can just play ranked instead? Like, what's the point? There's not much of a point. Well, even in ranked, people tend to surrender after like some things. So assuming like they have no hand traps and you look like you're about to build some sort of board, that's probably genuinely enough for your opponent to just surrender. So yeah, there's that. And then you could just be playing against meta in casual, which, you know, not great. But simply put, I guess we can say that one of the issues is that, well, it's not really, well, there's no like rules per se for what is able to be played in any of these modes. And that matters a little bit for some reasons, I guess. So if we were to go to duel rooms, for example, technically the only time you're playing against, well, people in duel rooms, you kind of know who you're playing against. So if you go to duel rooms now, like it wasn't the case fully on release, but every single one of these rooms, like I could enter any single one of these rooms and I will never find a duel, because these rooms were all pretty much made with the explicit reasoning of you want to like duel a friend, right? You're not really looking to duel randoms. So that's a kind of issue with this mode, a little bit, kind of ish. But I mean, duel rooms serve their purpose, I guess. So technically, you can contact someone and then you can decide like what decks to play. Perhaps you can decide like uh, rule sets, decks that you're not going to be playing. like a lot of things you can do with dual rooms in theory. Doesn't fully matter that there aren't like custom ban lists in dual rooms because you can just make your own custom ban list and you're not playing with randoms. So it doesn't really matter in those contexts, I guess. Would be useful for like some enforcement to make sure like your friend or opponent didn't make any mistakes to their deck building, like maybe you banned Pot of Greed, but you have it on unlimited, and they accidentally put Pot of Greed in your deck. You know, surely it happens. So yeah, whatever. But in ranked and just events in general, you well, even somewhat in casual, what people are playing, it's not going to be completely consistent. So some people are kind of playing for fun. Some people are playing only to go first. Some are playing only going second. Some are playing both. You know, you could argue some people are just playing the rank ladder not optimally, and that is kind of optimal in some circumstances actually. So in terms of like going first, there's certain deck builds that actually favor you going first more than going second, in the sense that you absolutely have no options going second, but you have like 1,000 options going first, right? So the idea would be like I guess some 60 card pile with just all engine, right? And if you think about just your win rate, right? Technically, uh, well, a lot of those builds they have no shot of winning going second, so it's pretty much just auto loss no matter what type of strategy you're employing. But if they go first, they will end on like a billion interruptions, negates, or whatever, and they'll be able to eat like 7 billion hand traps as well, you know, because of how the decks are built. They're essentially, you can think of it as 100% engine decks. And those builds, honestly, that it's dependent purely on like the coin toss, and whatever you do in that duel genuinely does not matter. So I don't know if I have faced any decks like that recently, and this one is close. This is a very high percentage of engine, so let's count non-engine. So we have 6, 9, and then technically you have Izuna, but it's only one Izuna for whatever reason. Heh. Okay, and then we have 3 chaotic elements, 3 case for K9. Are any of these cards searchable? No. Are we playing 3 chaotic elements? And then you have 3 copies of Dominus Impulse. So this one is a pretty normal build. It's got like pretty normal-ish amount of hand traps, so usually it's about 13 or so. And then like you might have 15, 16-ish non-engine, and the rest is typically engine. It depends on like the exact deck you're running, I suppose, but whatever. That's not too important. That's like pretty standard. And then this list is running a lot less engine, is it? No, this one's also fairly normal, except for the 5 rainbow being obnoxious as hell. So this is how many? 4, 5, 8, and then technically 5 mana can kind of be a hand trap in some cases. This is a little bit less because they're running some tech, I guess, like Super Poly. It's not really a big deal on this one either. Let's see, was it this list? This list is running how many? 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, and wait, did I count Fua? 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. Also pretty kind of moderately normal. It's just whatever. Let's see, this one. In terms of hand traps, you can argue that there's really no hand traps being played in this one unless you include Izuna, but Izuna's kind of RNG. Does this do anything? Tribute this card from your hand or face field, special summon a guy. This barely qualifies as a hand trap, honestly. I wouldn't even really include Corellia and Fulos as hand traps almost. I don't really want to count them, but in terms of hand traps, I guess this is decent-ish if you want to count everything that could possibly be a hand trap. That's 6, 7, 10, 13-ish, kinda. Lupus can kind of be one. Sometimes Holy Zoo can kind of be one, but those are like much more inconsistent. We should find one soon though. Like, looks like I had mostly normal games, and then here. This one is going to be. Wait, what is this? Oh, no, this is just some mad trash. All right, trash pile. Don't care about that list. Okay, this list. Here we go. Our first 60 card pile. So the only thing about this pile is that they bothered to run hand traps, but there are notably usually hanging around these locations. We have like bottom of diamond, top of around the top of diamond, or just mostly in diamond in general. And then master 5, and also sometimes master 1. There's usually a bunch of like 60 card dumb tier limit piles where we just have 60 cards of dumb things. Like we throw in, usually it's like Fiendsmith, maybe we throw in Millennium, we throw in like Gem Knights, whatever, and it's just all engine, no hand traps, except maybe they throw in like Eva plus Herald of Orange and Green or whatever. So they have a hand trap on your turn because it's searchable. So that's irritating. But yeah, for the most part, those lists, and kind of like these lists in general, like this one, also bothered to run like a. Actually, do they have enough hand traps? Wait, considering the ratios, right? 2, 3, 6, brilliant. 9, 12. No, that's not nearly enough to justify like this. I don't think that the ratios are a bit off here for being 60 cards. So like they should have ran different hand traps, I think. Kind of like disagree with the hand traps they're running here. Notably, I think the biggest cut is probably going to be like Prulia, and then you should in some of the dumb tech that makes no sense here. I mean, yeah, whatever. So, a lot of this stuff just doesn't really make sense to me. But okay, whatever. In terms of this list, if I were to go second against this list, you can see like how much engine you can technically drop. That's kind of the concept. I mean, that list kind of trash. So I think we just keep looking to see if we have another 60 card pile. This one. This one's actually technically running even less hand traps than that other build because you're not running as many of the fire monsters. So this one can kind of be like inconsistent trash sometimes. Well, whatever. Is it this list? This list, yeah. How many hand traps do we have in this? But they bothered to actually put in going second cards bold. So that's 5 here, right? And then 6, 7, 8 hand traps. Actually, wait, they have Ash as well. Wait. 5, 8, 9, 11. That's like pretty normal. So they're really minimizing on engine here. So pretty awkward list, I'd say. Okay, whatever. Why did I play against so many normal-ish people? Oh. 3 nib. Okay, buddy. How about this one? Pretty normal as well. I don't think during this climb on the like this particular section I was against that many 60 card decks, I suppose. But yeah, that's one more. Yeah, this one really weird. Still a decent amount of hand traps. Getting a lot of 40 cards here. But yeah, I mean, people seem to be playing different things during this climb for me. Except mostly like they're playing K9 Splash with something. Seeing a lot of that. This has a decent amount of hand traps, I guess. What was it? This one next? 4, 5, 8, 11. 11's like, actually, I think they had some like Flush armies as well. That's like pretty normal. This one, now this is a bit abnormal in terms of like hand traps. That guy just chose to mostly run board breakers, so yeah, whatever. 3 here. And then we have 6 here. So if I were doing an FTK, yeah, I could FTK this, no problem. So the only real threat that you have to worry about in terms of hand traps with this deck is just the Droll. Everything else is just like literally bait in this list, pretty much. So cool, just fine. That list is whatever. John Woolley, cool, great, man. What's this? 3, 6, 7, and then we have Charmies, so that's 10. Actually, wait, we have Sideframe Gear Delta, which I think is a really mediocre hand trap, honestly, but sure, 11-ish hand traps then, kinda. With basically no interruption here, but yeah. A lot of different lists being played a lot kind of different ways, right? I mean, look through all these. So in this section, we have 6, 9, 12 hand traps here. I guess we're getting like a lot of these are pretty standard builds this time around here. Except how about this one actually? No, that this one's pretty normal too. It's not. Wait, they get like they're like almost the same list really. But yeah, I mean, the main thing is that you can just be match made against a complete psychopath that has completely abandoned the idea of going second, and they have their deck only for going first. And if their deck is built only for going first, they have a huge advantage when they go first, of course, right? Of course, you'd have inversely like a huge advantage if you were going first against them because they have no options for going second. So in this case, I don't know. All of those guys, well, this is only showing games that were in like mostly Diamond 1 and 2, right? I think before this point, there were probably a lot of 60 card decks from what I remember. But hard to say off of just memory. But yeah, I mean, a lot of players, they can just be playing completely different kind of things, like more for fun builds, for example. You can have a lot of unfun builds, like have borderline stun, like categories of decks, which I didn't end up facing during this rank line, but in previous, happens. So sometimes you go first, you have a fine time. Sometimes you go second, you have a fine time, but sometimes you won't because your opponent is a complete psychopath, deranged lunatic that abandons the idea of either going first, going second, whatever. So in this case, I think there were, like, I don't think there were that many, but there were a few decks here that played a lot of going second specific cards. And those decks, moderately annoying. Like, for example, that Orcus list is actually pretty terrible if they specifically go first and I have hand traps for them. Like the one with board breakers for whatever reason. Because they ran so many board breakers and they ran so many like so much non-engine in general that their engine might not be able to deal with other people's non-engine. But it is what it is, I guess. That's how they like to play the deck. Whatever. So if we're playing ranked, we're playing basically the only mode available. So basically, let's say that there are maybe if there was a mode where you would want to play like essentially a lot of going first games. So in that case, it would be something like a solo mode. But like even solo modes are not a good place to test things. So for example, let's just real quickly go through some things you can't do in solo modes. So first off, I have to use the standard ban list. I cannot use unlimited list. So if I want to just do a combo with Crystron Halky Fibrax, but we can't do that in solo mode, except for that one specific deck list where Hulk is technically part of the list and it's a rental, so you can use Hulk in exactly that scenario. But for the most part, the only way you can play a solo and practice deck list as well, you have to specifically build your deck with no non-engine and then test combos that way. But even then, you're not guaranteed to open the combo you're looking for. So yeah, just no good way to practice combos and test things in general. I guess if you want to test certain interactions, no good place to do that. You'd need like a friend, and then you need to open a duel room or maybe a second account, I guess. Kind of dumb. And then on top of this, if I were looking to just do anything in solo, it's just difficult to do. Worth mentioning, I guess, is that to test the combo, like let's say I want to test, I don't know, let's say I want to go K9 or something, like start K9 combo, and then I want to transition into, let's say, River Stormer or something, and then this goes into like some Earth Machine stuff. If I want to do like a combo like this, but I want to test it first, I can't really do this because I don't have the cards, right? And if I don't have the cards in Master Duel, there's not a single mode where I can actually test a combo. Speaking of which, even if I do have the cards to test the combo, so maybe idea here is I want to test a line with going into River Stormer. This grabs maybe, I guess, since it's an Earth Machine, we grab Wakuushi or something. Try to do super heavy samurai combo line after this. I can't really do that because I just don't have the cards, like full super heavy samurai cards. Maybe I just want to test certain interactions to see if my combo will work. Otherwise, I wouldn't craft them. Or maybe I just want to test something for fun. And I don't have any intention of crafting it because I don't think the combo is very good to begin with. I just want to see what I could end on if I did a thing. Like maybe we go Azumina K9 Punk or something. And maybe I don't have two of the archetypes, but I wanted to try like this combo because I just thought of a really good combo line or something for that. Can't test it. Cool. Great. Well, not unless I craft all the cards. And even if I did craft all of the cards, I would still have to go to solo mode and then roll the well, I have to keep mulliganing my hand until I get the exact hand I need for the combo, which is irritating. For very specific combos like borderline FTK tier stuff, like I've done this a few times in solo mode. So like at worst, I've had it take like 30 minutes of just rolling hands, and then like I still like, or just mulliganing hands, and then I would still mess up the combo like one step, and then I would have to kind of mulligan my hand over and over again until I got the combo. So overall, I think that one video I'm thinking of took me like an hour to record because of that miserable time. But yeah, I mean, ranked, basically the only thing that there is to do. You could argue that technically this mode is an extension of ranked, even in some cases. Well, it's not every case, but Duelist Cup is basically just a mirror of this. Not really that different at all. So yeah, if we want to play Master Duel, all we got is ranked, and even within ranked, you can kind of feel it. There are players that kind of want to just play different types of decks, but the only place you have to, well, do this is ranked. So you get a bunch of mishmashes of decks that kind of don't make sense sometimes. Sometimes you're just facing against meta, which is like fine, right? Because it is ranked, you're expected to kind of play against some sort of meta, because something has to be meta at some point, right? Well, currently, and usually there should be a meta of some sort, because it is the meta, And even in those cases, like, it's still going to be, well, it's not really as frustrating in a sense, but like that's like a balance issue mostly. Like, um, if the meta is unfun, if the meta is fun, that there's aspects like that. But if you think about it, if the meta is unfun though, because we only have the rank mode, well, then what else am I supposed to do in Master Duel? I guess the only alternative is to not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Because, well, the only mode that there is to play is kind of unfun, right? So, why bother playing? I mean, even with the going first and going second issues, like, if you're playing a straight going second deck, if you're playing straight going first deck, all of those options, they're kind of just irritating for a variety of reasons. Like, with going first decks, like pure going first decks, if you matchmake against them going first, then it's pretty much a non-game. If you go second against them, it's a non-game, but in a different sense. So when they go first, you just have no chance because they're just playing like 60 or 40 whatever cards. They're purely for going first, more or less, right? And then for going second, well, you're not playing the game in the sense that your opponent can't really do anything because the deck is just not designed to do anything. So there's no real game being played, I would argue. Wouldn't really bother calling that a back and forth, right? And then for the regular duels, they're pretty normal, I guess. Aside from that, really worth mentioning, I guess, though. In terms of like the rank ladder, not here. If we go to details, specifically because you cannot D rank at tier 5 here, tier 5 here, they're actually pretty unfun to play in these specific areas. So in tier 5 diamond, that's where you're most likely to randomly matchmake against random FTKs, and it's just down to a really obnoxious grind where you're just coin flipping your way mostly through the 5 rank here, because this is usually, so tier 5 for master and diamond as well, usually where the most degenerate dumb decks are being played, because their win rate not so good, because if they do lose the coin toss, they'll just immediately go down 1 in their win record, I guess. It's kind of how it goes, right? With coin flipping, that the only expectation is really win going first, lose going second. That's about it. And maybe sometimes going first they will still also lose because hand traps. So those decks, I think we can call them like 45% win rate going first decks, or maybe 40%. It really depends on exactly what's being done. If it's like a dumb FTK, or like a straight going first only deck where you're just running a bunch of engines combined together, like piles, basically pile decks, right? So in tier 5, you're just forced to matchmake against those guys, and if you lose the coin flip, you'll probably just lose those games. If you win the coin flip, you'll start advancing a little bit, and those games are just really annoying to play in ranked in general. And then in tier 1 diamond, if you're at this rank, you can matchmake against master 5, and if your opponent is in master 5, since there is no threat of D rank, you can just play really dumb strategies, and there's no like repercussion in any way for that player, but there's repercussion for you in the sense that your rank will lower. So going first or going second, or I mean mostly just going second, is terrible, like absolutely horrendous in like all 3 of these tiers. So tier 1 here, tier 5 here, and then tier 5 here as well. And they're just pretty muddy, pretty unfun. Maybe it depends on what time of the season you're trying to climb, but yeah, just absolutely hate this. And in some cases, also worth mentioning, I suppose, is if you're in tier 4, you can technically also match make against tier 5 here. If you're tier 2 here, you can match make against tier 1 here. So tier 2, not too bad. Tier 3, kind of whatever. These 2 tiers, kind of chill. You're not really facing off against those obnoxious like pile decks or whatever. Pile 60 cards, whatever. You're not seeing them that much in these 2 ranks. At this rank, and technically this rank, just the majority of the ranks, I would say, actually, you're facing off against someone who, even if you win against them, it doesn't really matter for that player in the sense that they're just going to stay at their current position. They're not even demoting, irritatingly enough. And then at higher positions, well, like now that I think about it, yeah, tier 2 here is actually pretty bad in Master in particular because tier 1 you can't derank anymore. So a lot of degenerate things are being played at tier 1. So actually the only tier that's not too bad is going to be 3 and sometimes 4 here because you're most likely to matchmake into someone in your same rank. But yeah, I mean, most of Master actually kind of sucks now that I think about it. Like, tier 3 is probably the safest spot where you're not matchmaking against like those dumb decks where your opponent essentially gives up on something, either like going first or going second. They can give up on those ideas. They can try for purely FTKs. They can just play engine only, those types of decks. So, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking here it's just probably going to be tier 3 here is solid. Tier 2 is like it's not as bad as like tier 5 because you're more likely to matchmake into people that are master tier 2 than tier 1, but in some cases you can just consistently keep matchmaking against people in master tier 1 and then losing the coin toss to degenerate really dumb strategies or really dumb combos or straight up FTKs, because these are the most likely ranks that people are going to be playing these stupid strategies in. So yeah, the ranked mode is just a mess. Well, I mean, through rookie to gold, you can get to the bottom of platinum. I haven't been in there a while, so I have no idea what's going on here, but you cannot D rank at any point through here, so it's just this pretty straight grind all the way through gold to platinum. So yeah, I mean, not a whole lot to say about that at the moment, except I mean, I guess it's free gems. Cool, I guess. But once you start getting to this point, like, it's kind of just terrible balance and no incentive because you can't D-rank. Honestly, the fact that you can't D-rank kind of sucks. Like, I think to just stop all of this nonsense from, at least it'll be like from tier 2 here to nearly, or tier 3 here to tier 3 here. If you could D-rank from master, you would see a lot less stupid strategies. So yeah, I mean, that's frustrating. But I mean, at the moment, it is what it is. I don't know. We could technically keep it the way it is right now. Like, it's not that problematic. But also at the same time, like, the only thing there is to do in Master Duel is to play ranked. And ranked is like a mess for like a billion different reasons at different times. And it's just the thing with the system. Like, even if we had a really good meta, like, you don't have to play meta. There's no one saying you should play meta. In fact, usually in the areas I pointed out there with like the tiers I was pointing at here, so like tier 5s of this area and kind of tier 1 up here, people are more likely to be playing like the non-meta strategies, whatever it might be, but like potentially tier 2 strategies, rogue strategies, or some absolute nonsense, right? That's the most likely place you'd encounter them. But it's also not really fair to you if you're actually trying to rank climb, because they're not really trying to rank climb. So you're not even playing on the same like playing field here. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.